Hi everyone, we are going to do a demo today on Hot Chocolate GraphQL integration in ASP.NET Core application, and we are going to use the uh, Dapper ORM for database communication. Okay, so what is GraphQL? GraphQL is a open source data query and manipulation language for APIs. So it's a different version that is like a competitive version for the REST API, which was introduced by the Facebook. Okay, it is a query language for your API and server-side runtime for executing your queries using the type system you define on for your data. Okay, it's generally called as a query language. So using this query language, we can retrieve the data from the server. Okay, so GraphQL can be integrated into any kind of application like a .NET, Java, or any Node, etc. It isn't tied to any specific framework or the database. Okay, so coming to the GraphQL, its main operations are two. One is like query and another is like mutation. So query means fetching the data, means retrieving the data from the server, whereas mutation means saving or updating the data to the server. Okay, so in general REST API, we will have get and post methods, right? So here in GraphQL, it is classified as queries and mutations. Queries means fetching, mutation means some change need to be happen at the server. Okay. So Hot Chocolate GraphQL. Today we are going to use the library called Hot Chocolate GraphQL for .NET. Okay. So Hot Chocolate is a wrapper library for the original .NET GraphQL library. Okay. Hot Chocolate takes the complexity away from building fully fledged GraphQL server. So if you use directly .NET GraphQL library, there is a lot of work that we have to do explicitly. Whereas Hot Chocolate has been built in such a way that everything has been wrapped nicely and only few things we have to taken care. Remaining everything will be taken care by the Hot Chocolate GraphQL library itself. Okay. So this Hot Chocolate GraphQL library provides us three type of techniques for integrating the GraphQL, such are like schema first. Schema means GraphQL will have its own schema, okay, like its own syntax, okay. So means schema first. Using schema first means we have to learn the GraphQL schema language, okay. GraphQL HDL, GraphQL schema definition language, okay. So that is one approach, okay. And code first approach is like a .NET only. We no need to uh, write the schema, but we need to write some .NET classes that represent the schema file. Okay, and pure code first, it is very simple. Plain C# classes are enough for it. Okay, uh, let's go through them little bit more in depth. Okay, so schema first. This approach is fully involves in writing GraphQL schema definition language. I have already explained. Schema first means we definitely need to learn a new language like a GraphQL language. Okay. So code first. In code first, we no need to write any schema, but every plain C# class should have a mapping GraphQL class. So this GraphQL class will indirectly generate the schema for us. Okay, so that is the uh, another technique is code first. Next, coming to the last technique, that is pure code first. Here there is no schema writing and no GraphQL classes. Only plain classes are enough. This approach is very simple, and the schema generation is taken care by the GraphQL server. See, only knowing .NET is enough. C# is enough for the pure code first approach. So today's demo, we are going to use this pure code first approach for accomplishing a small project. Okay. So first, let's create a web API application, .NET web API application. Okay. So here I am selecting my .NET Core web API application. So let me give some name to my sample. Since I am using Dapper API framework, Dapper framework, right, for backend communication. So Here I am creating. So if you want pure code first technique with entity framework, I have already created videos on them. You can check my playlist. So this is a demo with hot chocolate pure code first along with the Dapper as a backend. Okay. So here you can see I'm targeting the latest version of ASP.NET Core, that is .NET 5. Okay. Let's create it. Okay, so this is my API project. Now I have to enable the GraphQL into it. Okay, for that we need to install Hot Chocolate ASP.NET Core package. Okay, let's install that package. Go for Manage NuGet Packages, and in the Browse tab search for Hot Chocolate GraphQL for ASP.NET Core. Okay, see you can see the search results here. The first one, Hot Chocolate ASP.NET Core. Okay, and its latest version is 12.0.4. I'm going to install this stable version for our demo. Okay, you can observe here a green tick mark that shows us package has been successfully installed into our application. Okay, and you can cross check over here hotchocolate.asp.NET Core installed successfully. Okay. Now, first is first, let's first enable the GraphQL server as well as GraphQL endpoint in our startup.cs. Okay, so you need to add GraphQL server. Okay, so once that is done, let's enable the endpoint as well. Okay, so here you can see map GraphQL. Okay, so if you hover here, you can observe the default path is like slash GraphQL. Okay, means your domain slash GraphQL will be the endpoint for your GraphQL. And one more thing, in GraphQL we will have only single endpoint. Okay, based on the query and mutation operation, our execution process will be varied at the server. Okay, unlike REST API, GraphQL will have only one endpoint. Okay, so if you don't want to use this slash GraphQL, you can override the path here. You can specify your any any path, but I am leaving default one. Okay, so that is the initial step. And I have mentioned, right, this video is using the Dapper ORM, right? So let's first discuss about Dapper and then let's add some code to retrieve the data from the database using the Dapper. And then we will do the two main operations we have discussed, right? Query and mutation later. Okay. So what is Dapper? Dapper is a object relational mapping for the .NET applications. Okay, it is a mapping model between the database results and the .NET objects. Okay, so Dapper provides all queries and commands execution methods as an extension method under system.data.idb collection interface. So Dapper works as a ADO.NET with much more model mapper support. So everyone as a .NET developer, we know about the ADO.NET, right? So it works like as it is ADO.NET, but the model mapping with the C# models is very easy and fast and flexible using the Dapper, which is not available with the ADO.NET. Because in ADO.NET, the result set from the database, we have to explicitly map them with the C# classes. Okay, so that overhead can be avoided in this Dapper. So the Dapper key features are like high performance in query execution and multiple query result support with single call and easy model mapping between the .NET objects and database results. Okay, so these are the main key features or advantage we can take away from the Dapper. Okay, so let's first install the Dapper library into our application. So let's search for Dapper. Okay, so the top result you can see, and the stable version is 2.0.9.0. So let's install that stable version. And we can observe it has been successfully installed. And along with the Dapper, we have to install one more .NET library. Okay, that is like system.data.sql client. So this is the Microsoft library only. It has some dependency along with the Dapper. So let's install it as well. Okay, it has been successfully installed. So for this demo, I have created a sample table like person. Okay, it will contain last name, first name, and age. Use simple data. Okay, so my main target is I want to consume this table data from the GraphQL endpoint. Okay, so first thing is let's create a response model for our that represents our table columns. Okay, for that let's create a DTO. And let me create a DTO like, okay, so let's add the column properties. So finally our DTO looks like this: ID, first name, last name, and age. Okay, so let's create a service file now, and those service file contains logic to retrieve the data from the database, and we are going to use the Dapper micro ORM for the DB communication. Okay, so let's create a folder like services. Okay, and here let me create a class like person service. Okay, so first let's enable the connection string. Okay, so for that I can create a property like private. Okay, and it will contain only get property new SQL written SQL connection that loads from system.data.sql client. Okay, and we have to pass here the connection string. Okay, so let me add my connection string into the app setting.json. Okay, let me add it there. So this is my local connection string. So now I have to use it in my service. To do that, create a constructor. Okay, and let's inject I configuration below. Okay, okay, like this. Let's initialize the I configuration, and from the I configuration, you can use get connection string method, and you can access the string like this. Okay, we have to pass our connection string property name. Okay, that's it. We are able to open the connection string now. Now let me create a one method, and using the dapper, I'm going to fetch the top record from the database. Okay, so let me create public person DTO. I'm expecting the output result. Okay, get parse. Okay, so now to open connection, let's use using statement like where connection. Okay, so let's create a raw SQL query directly here. So I'm going to specify select top one star from persons. Okay, now what I can do means I can catch the result like on dot query. If you import the Dapper namespace, okay, and you can typecast it here, our results like person DTO, and just we need to pass the query. That's it. And we can return the results. And here we need to specify single record only, right? I need to do first a default. Okay. So that is our first method. Now we are going to consume this service method into our GraphQL so that we can fetch the result. So let's create a interface as well, and we can register them with the dependency injection. Okay, so I will name it like iPerson service. Okay, so let's define the method definition here. Okay, let's define a method definition like this, and now we can register it in the startup. Okay, services start add scope iPerson service person. Okay, okay, let's implement it. I forgot to implement the interface. And now the error should be gone. Yes. So we have registered our service as well, right? So uh, I think if you have some general idea on Web API, what is the entry point? Entry pointer will be the controller and the action method. Any of the action method will be the entry point for a Web API request. Similarly, in GraphQL, entry point will be a method that resides inside of the resolver method. Okay, here we will have classes like resolvers that can be compared like a controllers. Okay, we will have query resolvers for fetching the data. We will have the mutation resolvers for updating the data. Okay, so first thing is we have to create the resolver. Since I want to fetch the data, right? That means I want to create the query resolver. So for that, what I will do, let me create a folder like query resolver. Okay, just create a folder like query resolver, and inside of it add a file like person query resolver. Okay, to make it a query resolver, we have to register here the root query name. So where this root query name, everything we can understand in the upcoming steps. For now, what I will do, object type that loads from hot chocolate library. See, hot chocolate types, okay? And here we need to specify the name. Okay, this name is the root name of our uh, query in our application. That name should be registered here. Okay, so where should be registered? It should be registered in the startup. So we haven't integrated that root name. So once we specified that name, same name will be copied over here. Okay, so this one thing you have to remember. And now we can simply create a normal C# class method like I want single person DTO, right? Okay, so this is a simple method, and I now we have to consume our service, right? So here we won't have any interface implementation for the resolver methods. Means we cannot inject our services into the controller of the resolver method, but we can inject them at method level. Okay, to do that, we need to use some attribute like service. Okay, that also loads from hot chocolate. And now we can specify our service interface here. Okay, like this we can inject. And we can simply consume that service and return it. That's it. So here we have created the resolver and the method. So this is the entry point for my request. If I query something means, okay. So now we need to register this as well into the startup. Okay, so go to startup, and now what we will do, we will extend this add GraphQL server, and first let's define the add root query name type. So that is like query, okay, and here you can specify name. So you can specify any name. I can simply specify the name query. So this name must be used by the extended object attribute of the resolver. Okay, like this we have to. So why? Because means because of this we can have n number of resolvers. Okay, like our business based on business, like person, customer resolver one, order resolver one, like that we can specify. If we don't use like this means we have to use only single class, single resolver class that need to be directly uh, registered here. So to get the flexibility to split the n number of resolver classes, we have to register a root name like this. And finally, we have to register our type, my resolver type. What is my, sorry, simply directly here we can resolve like this, person query resolver. Okay. So that's it. We are done with the registering the root query name as well as its type. Okay. Now let's run and check whether we are able to uh, create a GraphQL endpoint successfully or not. So when you run, it normally opens the Swagger. So to go to our GraphQL endpoint, I have mentioned, right? You have to use GraphQL. Okay. So this is a some editor tool that comes with along with the hot chocolate library, like a GraphQL testing endpoint. Okay. See, I have mentioned only single endpoint, right? So here you can see some controls like Control Alt T to open a tab. So now here is the playground for us to test the GraphQL endpoint. Okay, now the URL is this one, and here operations means we can specify here our queries and mutations. So this is this way how it will work. Here we need to specify the different queries, and under single endpoint it will work like that. Okay. So in this window, let's create a query. See, and here you can get intelligence as well. And open the braces. This represents I am requesting the GraphQL endpoint for a query. And next, if you control space, it will give some intelligence like first person. So what is this first person? If you observe, F is small and remaining thing is like a lower camel case, right? So what is this first person? So this first person, if you go to our code and go to our resolver, our method name, what it will do means, since it is a GET request, right? It will exclude this part and it will convert the F as small and uses as a type here, requesting this query. So this will be the, our function name will be the type of our query. If you have any doubt, let me change it to my name. So if you have any doubt, if you don't specify Naveen, it will automatic. If you don't specify get, also it will find. So what I will do, I will give my name itself, Naveen person. So now how it will generate means anyway get is not there. It will use like Naveen person as a query name and n will be the small. So to do know that, let's rerun it again. Okay, and let's reload this GraphQL page. Now, if you control space enter, see Naveen person. So from this, we can understand that is nothing but our method name. Okay, let me revert it. So if you have some conventional names like get first name or post first name, those values will be excluded and the name will be automatically generated by the GraphQL itself. Okay, so so in this case, how it is generating? It is generating like first name. Okay, let rerun again. Okay, so let's reload this page, and now we will get first name. Okay, and open curly braces. And the beauty of the GraphQL endpoint is, so here what is response type? Response type is person, right? Person DTO. So in general, in normal controller, whatever the response type, all the data will be returned to the user. But but in GraphQL, we can request the server, give me only these properties. So like I want only first name, give me that only. I want last name, give that only. Like that we can request the server. So if you observe here, you can control space, you can see all the column names of the response type will be shown here as intelligence. Okay, and its types as well. So here also naming convention. See, property name, starting name will be lower, like a lower camel casing. It follows. So let's test. I want only last name. So now click on the run button. See here, last name, single record, first record name is coming. Like that, I can also call required properties, whichever properties we want. Only those properties can be requested like this. See, I'm getting now. I will specify all properties. Here, intelligence also coming. So how it is understanding and how it is working, you're thinking, right? So this entire thing is nothing but the schema that is already generated when we run our application, already generated by the Hot Chocolate library implicitly. That schema only coming as intelligence to this editor, GraphQL tool. So this tool is Banana Cake Pop, its name, that was developed by the Hot Chocolate. So this intelligence, everything is coming from our API itself only. Okay. So it is very easy and testing tool for the GraphQL endpoint that was provided by the Hot Chocolate. Okay. So I am successfully fetched my single record. Now let's try to fetch the collection of records. Okay. So to do that, what I will do, I will add one more method here. Okay. So public person DTO and get all persons. Okay, so what I will do, I will just copy paste this. I will copy paste this, and we want collection of, right? So it should be list return type. Okay, it should be list return type. And what I have to do, I simply remove this top one. Okay, and I will change it to to list. Now I want all the data and returning. That's it. We are done with the Dapper query for getting the collection. What I'm doing, I'm simply getting all the data from the database and assigning it to the variable by converting them to the person DTO using the Dapper query, and that result is returning collection of records. Okay, now implement that method definition into our what I can say in our interface. Okay, now I am ready with my data source. So let's create a one more resolver method here. Okay, so now what I will do, let me use these names only. Okay, simply inject using the service attribute. We can inject the service here. Okay, and I simply return them, all persons. Okay, now our method name is get all persons, right? Now how it will generate a query means small a all persons. Okay, it will exclude the get method. Okay, so let's rerun the application again. So reload it. Okay, what I will do, I will get rid of all the first person query information. And now if I control space, see, now intelligence showing I have two queries. One is first person and another one is all persons. See, this all persons is nothing but name of my resolver method name excluding the get. Okay, so I want all persons age, nothing I want. So if I run, I will get collection. See here, age 28, 28, 29. So let's add some first name as well. See, the syntax looks like JavaScript, but it is not a JavaScript. You won't have any commas like that here. Okay, please remember that. See, now first name Naveen, Kumar, first name and age, all these are getting successfully. So that is how uh, we have to implement the getting the collection of data. Okay, next, how to send filtering like query parameters. In general REST API, we will send query parameters like, so that kind of scenarios, how to do here. To do that, what I will do, I will create a one method. Okay, public want list of persons only, and my method is get by first name. Okay, first name of the, I want to search the results by first name. So here I will send string first name. Okay, now what I can do, I can use the connection string using statement. Okay, now I have to develop my query like select star from persons where first name equal to, and he have to specify the at the rate value for the dynamic values first name. So these are like variables. Okay, dynamic values. Okay, first name. So now I want result connection string dot query person DTO, and here I can specify query, and now I have to pass the dynamic value as well. To do that, I will use param. Here I simply for an anonymous object, I simply send my parameter. So this name and here value variable name should be matched. Okay, and return the data. And I am expecting collection, right? I need to write to do. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm filtering the data from the database using some query parameter. Okay, let's define this definition in interface as well. Okay, we have defined. So let's create a resolver. So what I will do, will copy the, okay, let me create method like person DTO, and I will name like person by first name. Okay, and as it is, let's inject the service, and the query parameter what we are defining, we can simply assign it like a one input value to the method. So string, control Z string, and first name. Okay, so here what I will do, person service name and pass my first name value. Okay, so let's run it, and how, let's check how the intelligence will behave. Okay, so let's run the application again. Okay, and reload our tool. Let's get rid of all this, and let's check the intelligence. See here, person by first name. So this is my new method. Okay, and here you can open circular braces. See, and here it is showing something, first name. Okay, so this name exactly matches with the variable name here. See, that is the beauty of intelligence. If this is not available intelligence, we have to do manually, and we have to remember the all the rules, like first name of the first will be smaller, like that we need to remember set of rules. But because of this intelligence, it is very easy and flexible. Okay, and here I need to this variable to pass some data into this variable. We have to create a GraphQL variable. Okay, to do that, what I can do means open a braces and dollar and variable name, GraphQL variable name. Okay, so what I can say, search by first name. This is my variable name. Okay, and here we need to specify the type, variable type. In general, what is C# type? It is small string, right? Here we need to specify the, this is all GraphQL schema, GraphQL schema. So here we need to specify the string type in GraphQL. String type in GraphQL is similar like C#, but starts with capital. See here, intelligence we are getting. So here I created only variable, that is GraphQL variable name is this one. Okay, and its type is string. And now we have to define this variable here. Okay, and then we can call whichever properties we want. Okay, but where this, we have to pass some value, right, to this. So where we can send, if you scroll here, you can observe variable tab here. If you observe, so here if you enter, you can see you will get intelligence automatically. So here you need to pass. So I am passing like Naveen is the first name to search. So this is called GraphQL variable. Okay. Search by first name is the name of my GraphQL variable. And to use it in the query, we should prefix it with a dollar. Okay. That is the convention. And that should be defined to our uh, resolver method query input parameter value. Okay. So now if I run, I am expecting to return the result that contains name, first name as a Naveen. So let's run. See how beautiful I am getting. And here you can observe one more thing. Inside of data, the root property is nothing but the our query name itself. This is automatically done by the framework itself. Okay. See, this is how we have to send the query parameters to the GraphQL endpoint. See how many query operations we have created, almost 3 query operations created all under works under single endpoints. From that we can understand GraphQL only works with the single endpoint. Okay. Next thing is let me return the results of the complex types. Complex type means like a parent-child response type. Like a person can contain some addresses. Like there will be a navigation property to relate them, right? So how to query them? Okay, okay. So how the results will be look like for a complex object types. Okay. So let's try to implement that one. That I have already one child table that is like person addresses. Okay, and I'm storing the person ID as a key. So let me create a one more DTO class for my response for the addresses so that I can link up this new class with my person DTO so we can make a complex object. Okay. So in the DTOs, really my person address DTO looks like this. So let me add a some relational property that is navigation property like person can have collection of addresses. Okay, person address DTO. Okay, so let's implement a Dapper query that going to return two result sets from the database in single class. That is like one result set is for person and another result set is for person addresses. Okay, so what I will do, public list, and ultimately I want to return list person only. Inside a person we will have addresses as well. Okay, get person address. Okay, so let's copy the using statement where query equal to at the rate persons select star from. Okay, so what I will do, where reader equal to, okay, con dot query won't support because query is only for single result set. So to get multiple results we have to use query multiple, and I simply pass my query. Okay, now where persons equal to reader dot or read, what is my first result set, person DTO, right? I can pass it and to list. Similarly, I can read addresses equal to reader dot read, okay, person address DTO, okay, to list. Okay, now what I will do, I will loop my person results. Okay, so what I will do, person dot addresses equal to where addresses where person ID equal to person dot ID dot to list. Okay, like this I am going to map. So now I will get the persons along with their addresses. Okay, this is my logic. And finally, let's return the person data. Okay, so let's go over here and define it inside of our service, person service. Okay, let's define our resolver method. Okay, So what I will do, I will copy some previous method and rename my name like person addresses. Okay, and I want to get the get person address. Okay, so let's run the application. So now reload our page again and remove this person by filter name. And now you can see person addresses. So it don't have any variables. So I can remove this variable. Okay, and here I can specify age, first name, and I want address. So address is another object, right? See here. Address you have to open again flower braces. Inside of it you can specify. See, child objects also only specified properties it will return. Let me select only two properties, and here there is no variable. Let's remove this old code. Okay, that is perfect. Now run. See, age 28, Naveen, address ID 1 and city Bhimavaram. Like this, everyone address is coming, right? So if you want state as well, you can specify the state also. See, naming convention only here matters. That is smallest you have to use. If your intelligence is not working, then please keep in mind our property name first character should be smaller. That is the key thing to remember. And one more thing is this query name should match with our resolver name. If you are using any conventional keywords like get, those should be excluded while calling. If you are not using, then it is fine, absolutely fine. Directly the name copy and make it the first character small and query in the testing tool if your intelligence is not working. Okay, so that is how we can call the uh, complex query types. See, complex query types, again, we have to make them like a separate object while querying. So that is the beauty of the GraphQL, where we can filter child object properties as well while requesting. Okay, so that's all the basic overview on query resolver. Okay, now let's jump into mutation. Okay, mutation also should have a resolver and it should be have some entry methods. Okay, so mutations will be used for the saving the data. Okay, so let create a Dapper query to saving into the data. Okay, so public. So here I will return a number value. Okay, as a response. So it is like Dapper will return 1 if the record is inserted. Dapper will return 0 if the record is not inserted. And that is the uh, number going to be written from this action, this method. Okay, save person method name. I'm going to use same person DTO. If you want, you can create separate object as well. Okay, separate class as well for saving object. Okay, so where so I will name it like commands for inserting. Okay, just a convention. You can specify any variable name. Okay, so let me add my already prepared query to save some time. So this is my query. I'm just inserting my data into the person's value. Okay, so here what I can do, function dot execute. Okay, so if you hover here, execute will return a numeric value, 1 for insert, 0 for not inserting. Okay, so here I can pass my command, and here params, I can simply pass my person object. Okay, and one more thing, these values should match exactly with our person DTO property names with caps as well. Okay, caps as well, so that we can directly assign the object. If you use small here, then we have to explicitly specify like this new. Okay, and last name equal to person dot last name. Okay, like that you have to specify explicitly. Since I am using same variable names in my query, I can directly assign my object. Okay, that's it. So let's add it in our services. Okay. Now the thing is, I have to create a resolver for the mutation, right? Let's create a new folder like mutation resolver. Okay, mutations resolver. So I'll create a class resolver like person mutation resolver. Okay, so this is my mutation class. So similar to resolver class, this is also should be decorated with extension object. Copy that, but name should not be the query name. For mutation also we have to define the name. So for now let's make it empty. Okay, while registering I am going to give the name. Okay, so let's create our entry point, that is nothing but method. Okay, save person. Okay, since I am using person DTO, right? Person DTO. Okay, and I am naming like person. Okay, so what I have to do, I have simply written here also I need to inject my service. So for that I can use service attribute. Okay, hot chocolate service attribute, and now I can call my service and person. So simply I can person service save person. So that's it. Now let's register this in the startup. Okay. So in the startup, similar to add query type, we have a one more extension method that is like add mutation type. Okay. So here I have to give the name, any name of your choice. But I will give like a mutation itself or convention. Okay. And here simply you need to register its type as well. So my person mutation resolver. Okay. So that's it. I have defined my root to mutation name and my mutation resolver type also I have registered here. So I simply use same name here as well. For every mutation resolver, this name will be decorated. Every mutation resolver class. Okay. So we are done with our change. Let's run it. It's running. And let me get rid of everything here. Now mutation, right? I have to specify mutation. Okay. Since mutation means posting some data, right? So here we have to use something like this, and I have to create a variable here because I am posting some data. Okay, person data I will name like this, and I have to define a type for it. So if you specify colon and enter some space, here you can see person DTO input. Why it is generated like this? GraphQL, what it will do means, what is our DTO name here? Person DTO. How GraphQL will generate a type for this object means it will use entire name and append input. Okay, you can observe here. person DTO dot input that is generated by the GraphQL, hot chocolate GraphQL. Okay, so please set that one. So while if you don't have intelligence, you need to remember that. What you have to remember that my method, uh, something like if your DTO is customer DTO, you are saying customer. Okay, think like it is a customer DTO. Then how you have to write means while querying customer DTO input, you need to append input. Okay, if intelligence is working, that's fine. Very easy for our to query the request. Okay, now if we enter, see here I am getting I have only one mutation, right? That is nothing but my method name, save person with the S as a small. Here you can see that. Okay. And if you open braces, you can see person. See, this person will always matches with this parameter value. Okay. Person. And here I need to specify for the person, I need to specify the GraphQL variable type. Okay, since it is nothing written, right? I no need to open anything. It is nothing it will show because it is simply returning a scalar property that is integer. So no need to open flower braces. Okay. Now the thing is we need to specify the object here. So object is like, so all the properties. So I can specify age like and first name. Okay. And last name. Okay. And here ID is non-nullable, right? So I simply sending 0. Okay. If you don't, because all the properties, non-nullable properties in this class should be sent from the server, or else it will throw error. Okay. So address is a nullable object. So I no need to send, but ID is a non-nullable DTO inside of DTO. So I must send it. So if you think, so in this case, if you feel it is unnecessary, then you have to create one more DTO like person save person DTO like that. You need to create one more DTO class and use. Okay, so it is up to you. Okay, I am using same fetching object only I am using, so I have to send ID as well as a 0. Okay, so now if I run, I have to get 1 as a response so that it is successfully saved. See, I got 1. Okay, and what I will do means I will open it in one more new tab. Okay, and here what I will do, I will query whether my new record is saved or not. Okay, so I will use all persons and age and first name. Let's run it. And if you see here, you can observe the latest record, what we have added is successfully saved here. Okay, so from this we can understand we are done with mutations as well. Okay, that's about our demo of integrating GraphQL, Hot Chocolate GraphQL endpoint into our ASP.NET Core API and using Dapper as a backend. Okay, I hope this video has delivered some useful information to you all. If you like my video, please support me by subscribing to my channel. We will meet you soon with a new video. Until then, signing off.